Live begins now. It's clear framework, smart analysis, and confident investing. Let's run today's market through the 3-point playbook. And talking about that, the portfolio sits at 5.3%. We had a buy yesterday and a sale today. Liam Flavelle, Hans-Henrik Nielsen are, of course, on hand. And let's start with you, Hans-Henrik. The market's still reeling from the NOVO drop yesterday. It's like being a boxer and you're down for the count and you're getting to 8. It's time to get up on your feet again, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it seems like they are a bit beaten down still. They're down today 2.5%, something like that. Market were hit a bit by a perfect storm yesterday from that and a report and some AI scare and whatever.
Yeah, we get through it all in this show because Liam Flavelle, one thing is NOVO was down for the count. Good old IBM got a left hook right to the chin, didn't they?
Yeah, they got a bit of a drubbing yesterday based on a 14-year-old.
Something with your sound, Liam?
Liam, I think that you're on a different microphone right now. There was some sort of mix-up, but we'll
carry on with the boring.
We will get back to Liam as soon as he got his sound fixed. Danish stocks are in the red. NOVO down sharply yesterday. Today, as Hans-Henrik said, 2.5% down at the moment. AARSLEFF, on the other hand, was 69% up over the year and just delivered some fresh sales growth. But is there more upside in it? If I look at the exchange right now, not so much, a little bit of red in that one. But in our 3-point playbook portfolio, we beat the market by 1.5% yesterday, and that was in the positive, and we're at 5.3% overall for the year. And it's Tuesday, which means that Tech Tuesday will be here. As Liam was going to tell, IBM suffered its biggest drop since 2000, and a bold AI thought exercise hits Visa, DoorDash, and basically all banks. CITRINE, say the name and get used to it because they brought the market to the knees yesterday. But who are they? We'll tell a little bit about it here on the show. And Bitcoin drops towards 63,000. And talking that number or in vicinity of that, if you had $50,000 today, which one and only one of the Max Stock 7 would you buy? We'll ask that in our Tuesday poll, and we'll also tell you later in the show why today's number is 3.4 billion, and that might be my salary at the end of the day, I hope. Let's see where we're going from here. Guys, let's start with the 3-point playbook because Liam, yesterday, and we're not much about tooting our own horn. We do it very, very rarely. But there was a reason for it that we do it today. Up 1.5 in a market that was all red. What's the magic?
Yeah. We were 1.5% above the S&P 500 and the benchmark we use, which is pretty impressive. And it's because it's down to one thing, really. Let me just share my screen very quickly. I take it my sound is fixed, by the way.
Yep. It is.
Okay, cool. I can save my comments on IBM until a little bit later then. It's all down to one thing, actually, and that's called beta. Beta is basically for every move, 1 point move in the index, how much does our portfolio move? And we want to see low beta because we don't want to be driven by the S&P 500 or any of the benchmarks we use. We actually want our stocks to be driven by the fundamentals that we've chosen. And that low beta really shows that we're doing a good job there. The other thing Hans and I were talking about earlier on was we didn't realize we didn't actually have a losing month last year. Or this year so far either. So that's where we're up 5.2%. One of the stocks we looked at that we thought was particularly interesting was Akamai. It's in our portfolio. It took a hell of a hit, 10% last year. We had a lot of people saying, well, are we selling then? But it didn't actually get too close to our selling parameters. But what it shows you is in a market where yesterday its competitors of CrowdStrike was down 10%, Zscaler was down a similar amount. So the AI is really hitting these companies quite hard. We chose a stock that actually went up by, 4 or 5% yesterday, partly as a bounce, but partly because it's a pretty solid business out there. And you can see just from a very quick playbook sort of analysis, you can see there's a lot of green here at the top. Earnings per share is shooting up. Returns are okay, sort of, but free cash flow is great. From a valuation point of view, this is why we bought, because the worst case scenario, according to us, the analysts, is 10% gain by the end of next year. The best case is up 140%. So it's a strong business, and yeah, we chose at a good time, bounced off this green line here, came up, and hopefully we'll get back up to where it was.
And Liam, there was a lot of members asking us when it hit that green line that you just pointed out
Yeah.
here, isn't it time to sell? But not so fast, you guys said, because the 50-day moving average.
The 50-day regular viewers will know that the 50-day is one of our key metrics. You can see, you know, we look for stocks that are in an uptrend and they've got momentum behind them, and we use two main indicators to show us that. One of them is our MTI, so we've got the daily at the top and the weekly series. If that's in green, it shows there's a good uptrend going on. The other two things we use are the 50, this green line, and sometimes the 200 day moving average. You can see that the stock bounced perfectly for a couple of days on that green, showing to us that trend is still intact. We also didn't sell because we had this support line here. If the stock had broken down through here, we would have sold immediately. We're not married to the stock. We want it to go up, but we'll sell it and just allocate the capital onto something else.
Talking about being married to a stock, I think the entire nation is basically married to Novo Nordic here in Denmark. And if we're talking the 50-day moving average, Hans-Henrik, that's about a mile away right now for Novo Nordic. They really took a beating yesterday, 16.5% down in the Danish market, equivalent in the American market. Today, down 2.7% at the moment. There's just no end in sight for Novo, is there?
Well, that is hard to say if there is. Let me just share my screen here. It is as if the market have reached some sort of capitulation zone. I have seen several analysts saying now is enough. This is really, we can't take it anymore. And these are not just private investors, they are actually the professionals. And there have been a lot of critics about the way they set up their tests, drug tests and so on. I've been asked about that several times, and I can just say I have absolutely no idea. The thing with our way of investing is we don't need to be experts in Novo's drug development or Carlsberg's okay, Liam, you are an expert.
I was going to say,
but yeah, no,
I invest heavily in that.
The fact is, we are data driven, meaning that we are looking at, is it a good quality stock? Is it priced in an area that have been cheap or seen as cheap before? And does it look like the big guys are coming in? And when that occurs, then we don't really care how a drug test is set up. Right now, we can just see that it has moved down in increments of the 25% stair steps here. And if we are going 25% further down, we should go down to 205, 210. Would that happen? We have absolutely no idea, but it'll take a while before it's interesting for us.
The one thing I'd add on to here as well, though, is it came out in the English webinar a couple of weeks ago, saying, or was it last week? Seems like a long time ago now, where someone brought up a pharmaceutical stock, and actually I said, I'm not that, I don't like pharma stocks, because actually one wrong step on a trial or a drug or something can actually devastate your stock price. So that's the main reason why I don't like these sort of stocks.
But let hold on, because I absolutely do agree, and I remember you brought it up, and we looked at maybe a one-trick pony pharma stock, if allow me to say that. This is a huge company that has so many products in the pipeline. Ain't they been overpunished?
In my opinion, they are. But there is, again, it's hard to say if we look at them in here. We set up here at that point, they were trading at PEs of 45 or something like that. We said they are too expensive, and we sold up here around 900. The thing is, it's hard to say in a stock like this, when is it cheap, when is it expensive? But I agree with you, Jesper. They have hundreds of drugs on the market. But the thing is that the entire hype is around the GLP-1, the weight loss, the Wegovy tablet, the pill and everything. So right now, there's just a lot of hype around that. It's still a rock solid company.
Before we go to AARSLEFF, and we are going to look at that, I see a lot of questions being floated both in Aktiesnak, in Aktieanalyse, and even in the members group that I have 400,000 Danish kroner. Isn't it time to buy Novo right now? And again, Hans-Henrik, please stress again, nobody knows where the
No,
bottom is.
absolutely, and we would not do it. Then you could sit here in a year and say, "I told you so." It went up 1,000%, or it could go to 10. We have absolutely no idea, and that is why we are using our MTI indicator as a oh, that is a wrong indicator here, but we're using the MTI indicator that told us up here that we should go out. And since then, it has not really been interesting. I think we were in for a very brief moment around 400 because there was a potential buy signal. But we never try and guess where the bottom is. And people up here said, where was that? Up here. And up here said that we were crazy for saying that it could go to 200. And we just said, well, we have no idea and no one knows. And now it is closing in on 200. And will it go to 100? We have no idea.
It's still crazy though. It just, yeah, it doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go and talk a little bit about a company that's gone up and up and up, because over the last year, AARSLEFF is almost up 70%. Today they came with numbers. It looks like they have strong growth, but not so fast, the market said. They're dropping a little bit today, Hans-Henrik, but still, AARSLEFF have been on quite a tear.
Yes, and it is a high quality company. There's no doubt. We have looked at it not too long ago. Really solid company, earnings per share going up, revenue going up, low PEG ratio, positive cash flow, really solid on the interest coverage. There's just nothing there. The thing is that, as you said in the beginning, they have gone up something like 70% over the last year. And right now, and that we get a lot of questions about this, where do we put our channels? We can see it has been rejected a lot of times at a P around 16, and it has found support several times at a P around 8. So we choose them as a point to go for. And on that, it is expensive right now, and I wouldn't touch it.
The interesting thing here, and I'll call that out because I'm specialist here, I'm not the analyst here, is that for once we see the analyst being on top rather than a bond-only note.
Exactly. They are looking at a 14%, and they might be right. What we need to realize is that sometimes the PE regime shifts. We saw that with NOVO, we saw it with defense stocks, that all of a sudden something happens so that market starts pricing stocks higher at a higher multiple. It could be the thing here that we should have a new set of cheap and expensive. No one really knows. So until we have a better idea of that, we will just stick to what seems to be right. They had revenue better than expected, but the guidance were not that impressive. So I think I'm actually not sure what happens to it today.
I think that we are down a couple of percent. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they are bouncing nicely, and yeah, it is a good company.
Liam Flavelle. It's Tuesday. We love when it's Tuesday because that means that we, first of all, you're with us. Second of all, that we get to dive into the tech industry and talk a lot about that. Before we talk CITRINE, because that's correlated with the tech, let's talk about IBM. The steepest daily drop, 13.15% since 2000. What happened?
What, in 2000 or yesterday?
No, I can't
tell you
remember
either.
what happened 26 years. I can't even remember what happened yesterday. But tell me about IBM instead.
Not even that important. IBM got hit. Anthropic, the AI company, brought out a new code system that says it understood COBOL. COBOL is a horrendous old language, computing language that I learnt in 1988 when I first started at my first job. We actually had a competition. C was coming out, very nerdy at the moment. It's a language, and the first thing you do in a lot of languages now is print "Hello World" onto the screen. Three lines in C, 180 lines in COBOL. That's how bad it is. So, and that's one of the reasons for my hatred of the language. However, it's quite important. I didn't realize until yesterday, 95% of all the ATM machines in the US is run through COBOL systems. So, and they're used because they were written years ago. Absolutely no one knows what they do anymore or how they do it or anything, and it's a massive risk to change anything. And this is where IBM make a lot of money, because they have a lot of COBOL coders in there. They're all about your age, Jesper, so they're in their 80s and 90s. But the problem is they are starting to die off. They're starting to retire. They're starting to go out of the workforce. They are dying off. I sadly know quite a few.
We're talking
people
about COBOL, not me, right now, right?
We are
right?
talking about
yeah,
COBOL.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
So IBM has made a lot of money out of their division that just goes in and maps out what the COBOL systems do, and then works to replace them with whatever new language they're working on at that particular time. This new Anthropic system has come in, and Anthropic said, "Hey, we can now work out what's going on in the COBOL code." It's not that simple. You've got human relationships there with the client. These are big systems that, I wouldn't trust code, with the AIs with anything major, certainly anything complex, because they get it wrong so often. So actually it's a big nothing burger out of this. Companies, analysts, investors are just using any excuse to dump a stock and take some profit out if they've got some profit, or they're running scared.
Liam, if I may add just quickly, can you go to the trading view chart?
Yeah,
on that, because we would not have taken the drop yesterday.
I can find my mouse. Yeah,
we would have gone out around 31st of December or the 11th of February.
Out there.
Yeah. So our exit strategy would have, not that we have gone out on the top, but we would not have taken the drop the last week.
Yeah. The other interesting thing from IBM, their Watson AI, which is their own homegrown AI system, has a COBOL part to it. It does the same job that Anthropic had just announced, just I would assume better.
In regards to predicting trades, I think that everybody was a little bit stifled yesterday and a little bit surprised that all the bank stocks, all the credit card stocks, everybody basically fell out of the sky yesterday, thanks to this company, CITRINE. See, the thing is that we talked about it. It hasn't even hit the Danish news. It's barely hit the UK news. It barely hit any news sites. Hans-Henrik, CITRINE. It sounds like almost like a hocus pocus magic word. Who are they, and how come they made the entire financial world tumble yesterday?
Well, they are they have become well known for some fundamental analysis, macro analysis. They were quick to see the GLP-1, the weight loss drugs, quick to see the NVIDIA and so on. So they have built quite the name. And what is on the platform called Substack, they are huge. They have millions of followers. So when they talk, people listen. And what they said yesterday was it came out with a report. So of course, it was only a fictitious scenario, but they wrote it as if they were writing it in June 2028. And it was quite the dystopian story they told about a ton of white-collar workers being sacked and the property market completely collapsing and all the Visa, MasterCard, PayPal stuff collapsing because of stable coins transactions, and basically just AI agents taking over everything, so almost no businesses could be profitable.
If I run it by the two of you, and Liam, feel free to jump in here because you're the tech guy. The thing is that's scary about this write-up is, okay, it's the future, but it's the near future. We're not talking something 10 years away. We're talking 2 years and 3 months away.
That's where I did a review of it for my morning piece today, my tech piece today, and it's up on the website. It's up on the Facebook forums. That's where I disagree. They say 2028. It's a bit like 1984, which was supposed to be in 1948, but Orwell sort of changed the numbers around because he would have got some heat. I don't think the tech is anywhere close to doing what they say it's going to do. They're basically saying that 10% of the workforce the white collar workforce will go into unemployment or go into the gig economy because agents will start taking their jobs away, and that's a reinforced circle that says, okay, and then companies become less profitable, then they've got to employ more AI and less people so they can keep their margins intact. The same goes for the consumer economy there, where everyone is running agents on their phones to do shopping. All the transactions are done with Bitcoin type transactions or stablecoin transactions, and there's a massive reduction in Visa and MasterCard's revenues going through there. All of these things I actually think will happen, but I would say either 2038 or 2048 are much more sensible numbers to have in there. 2028 is not going to happen.
I know Hans-Henrik want to jump in there, but the thing is that we're careful on time here. But I want to say one thing: the future is coming. It's just coming slower than what they said. That's what we think.
And that is the disruption is not as bad as when the computers entered the workforce. People said 50% unemployment in a few years. But since it took 10, 15, 20 years for it to really work its way in, then the companies adapt and people adapt and get new educations and so on. So it will end up being a help and not a complete destroyer of worlds, I guess.
Yeah. If people want to look at it, though, my article did have at the end a stock in there that has a massive upside in this.
Ooh, a little tease we had here at the end. Fantastic. Let's go to something that also was and is still part of the future. Bitcoin. Again, hindsight, if we look back, it was 120,000. And if I look, we're at 63,000 now. I thought that it was going to go to 1 million. Who said that, Hans-Henrik?
Well, not me. I have said all along
somebody
that
bought Bitcoin.
I have no idea where it would go. However, we did put in some projections if it should have a 75 to 80% drop like it has had several times. Then it should go down to 30,000. We had another 52,000 thing. The thing that worries me a bit right now with the drop is that there's a bit of an enforcing a ripple effect in this, because there are a lot of companies that have been so-called crypto treasuries, meaning that it's like the MicroStrategy or strategy: buy Bitcoins, it goes up in value, they borrow against it, buy some more. And the strategy company is fairly solid. It's not going out of business for a couple of years at least. But there are around 200 listed companies all over the world that have copied them. And they have started copying them sometimes in 25 up here. There are around between 40 and $50 billion in Ethereum and crypto and Bitcoin tied up in these companies, and they are basically underwater by 50%, all of them, with no real plan to how they can get back. So that can force a lot of selling into this market and could accelerate the downturn.
We will keep an eye out for it again, even though that is not something that's part of our portfolio. But we often get questions in regards to Bitcoin, and we try to answer some of them. And talking about questions, sometimes we turn it around. We ask you questions. We do that in the Tuesday poll. Last week, we talked about who was going to do a comeback of the software stock. Everybody basically agreed and said Microsoft was going to be the winner of the comeback when and if it's going to happen. I see Liam shaking his head, but not so fast, Liam, because today we're going to flip it over. We're going to ask our members, our free users, those who are in ActionSnack, we're going to ask them one simple question. It's a little bit of a thought experiment. If you got $50,000 or 300,000 kroner and you could buy just one of the magnificent 7 stocks, Microsoft is a choice, but which stock would you buy? I'll ask you two. I'll start with you, Liam. Which stock would you buy?
Well, I won't choose Tesla because I know Hans has got that. I would go for Amazon. I think it's bouncing very nicely at the moment, even though Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett sold it a couple of months ago.
Yeah, but also Ken Griffin bought 2.52 billion of them. Okay, Amazon.
He listens to the show. Obviously.
He does indeed. You know, Hans-Henrik tried to sell me that there was somebody called Gen Griffin.
Yeah,
that was a member, but I don't believe him. Hans-Henrik, you get your pick of the 7 now. Yeah. Amazon is taken.
In the Danish version of the show, I was a bit torn between Amazon and Alphabet, and now Liam picked the loser. Then I'll pick Alphabet.
There we go. There we go. Fantastic. We have 2 choices here. You get the choices out in the Facebook groups. Give us your vote, and we'll look next Tuesday and see how they're all going. I said in the beginning of the show that we were going to talk my salary. We are not, sadly enough, not going to talk about that on the show, especially not this number, because the number is $3.4 billion. That is what the founder of Point72 Asset Management is paid or was paid in 2025. How is he going to pay his bills? I simply don't know. What a measly salary. It comes out to $9 million per day. That is the record topping compensation that he gets. And
Do you think he is on Snap?
I have no idea. Is he a TikTok or what is he?
Oh no, Snap benefits. I was
Oh,
thinking.
okay. He gets Snap benefits. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that he's definitely getting Medicaid. And what do you have? In that sense, a guy who is not making that kind of money is going to take the I'm going to say the podium tonight in State of the Union. Trump is going to speak to Congress.
Is that the time? Sorry, I've got to go.
It's that time of year. But it is something that can move the market, Liam. We know that. And we have no idea. Of course, we have no idea what he's going to say.
But it could think
move the
he's
market.
got an idea of what he's going to say, to be honest.
We are pretty sure what he's going to say.
Yeah, I think it will be tariff, Supreme Court, Democrats, Biden, probably Clinton's fault and things like that.
Yeah.
It
Probably
can move the
not
market.
anything about Epstein, I think.
I would imagine not. But it can move the market. At the moment, I think you're seeing a lot of shock and awe because of the tariffs, as well as all the reports coming out. People are just running scared at the moment. They don't know where to put their money, so they're putting out the market and selling.
And tomorrow, even more interesting, tomorrow evening after market close, we get NVIDIA and we get their numbers. Liam, you're the tech guy. Your expectations for Jensen Huang?
My expectations are pretty high for the report. I think the guidance will be stellar as usual, because I think their new Vera Rubin chips are going to be selling like AI chips, I suppose. I think they need to answer things like, are their gross margins being squeezed? That would see a downturn in what we see on the price, and also any memory issues. Are they fulfilling their memory problems? Those are the two things that will derail it.
Have they really committed $100 billion to OpenAI? We all want to know.
Of course they haven't.
We will be almost live in that sense, that I know that both of you will be watching Jensen when he takes the stage and tell about his State of the Union for NVIDIA. It will be tomorrow night. We'll live comment on that, absolutely, as always. Apart from that, Liam will be back on Thursday at 1 o'clock. We can tell you our schedule. Every Monday to Friday, we do broadcast at noon in Danish. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Liam is with it at 1 o'clock. And apart from that, always keep an eye out for the good articles that's found on our platform, MyStockScanner.com. Get a free membership for a month, test us out, see our portfolio, and make sure that when you do invest, then do it with smarter picks, less stress, and better sleep. It's all about quality, upside, and timing. Gents, always a pleasure to have you with us. We will see each other on Thursday, the three of us, and Hans-Henrik and I will be back tomorrow at 12. Take care. Happy investing out there.